Despite being the world's 9th largest economy, Canada continues to be a chronic underachiever and is in deep economic trouble. Whatever nickname you give it, this economy is essentially sluggish, even with the increasing service sector and the artificial sweetener of abundant natural resources. Canada must play its cards right. So, what challenges face the Canadian economy? How has the service sector and natural resources helped the economy grow? And why are these not enough in the face of an aging population? How great is Canada? Although it may not seem like it when looking at a physical map of the nation, Canada is the second largest country in the world in terms of land area. It makes sense for individuals to live close to the US border because Canada's economy is so tightly linked to that of the US. There are 10 provinces and 3 territories in Canada. The largest city in the country is Toronto, where the capital is Ottawa. The Rocky Mountains, Canadian Shield, lake, rivers, and eastern valleys are some of Canada's most notable geographical characteristics. Every geographical aspect has a significant impact on Canadian civilization. Its topography is significant given that it has influenced trade, transportation, foreign policy, population settlement, and other areas. Sometimes it never rains, but it pours. Canada has an abundance of natural resources. Timber and minerals are exported by enterprises there from this region, as well as the areas to the east and west of it. In addition, agriculture and fishing are the 2 major sources of income of the eastern maritime provinces. The southern prairie provinces of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, as well as the St. Lawrence River, are home to some of its best agricultural land. The dairy farms and agricultural areas along the St. Lawrence River supply food to the region's biggest towns. Fertile farmland can be found in Ontario on the east and north sides of the Great Lakes. Logging and mining are supported by Western Canada's coastal ranges and Rocky Mountains. British Columbia's Vancouver coast has developed into Canada's primary port for the import and export of goods to and from the Pacific Rim. In previous years, there was a rush for gold in the mountainous Yukon Territory. What a diversified topography. Take your pick. The service sector is incredibly important to Canada's economy. 75% of the labour force there is employed in this sector, which also generates billions of dollars in GDP. It's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Actually, from 2008 to 2018, the service sector contributed to more than 65% of its GDP. People are enjoying higher standards of life and high-quality jobs as a result of the rise of the service industry. This indicates a continuation of sustained economic growth. It's true that new services have been made possible by technical breakthroughs. This phenomenon, which is often called creative destruction, has increased the number of workers in the service sector and the industrial sector's production. Canadian service industries are advised to make hay while the sun shines. Higher living standards and above-average salaries are associated with jobs established in the service industry. Substantial economic growth has resulted from increases in jobs and productivity in this tertiary sector. They must be quick to jump on the bandwagon. This is particularly true for the high-skill, high-paying fields of information technology, artificial intelligence, and bespoke software. The rise of the Canadian service industry is particularly important for the country's economy,
At your service.
which is still recuperating from the loss of export potential prior to and during the global financial crisis, as well as the 2014 decline in the price of natural resources. While there are several fiscal and monetary measures supporting the economic recovery, the growth of the service sector has shown to be of greatest importance. According to economic studies, the service sector is going to continue to develop steadily for the next few years. Canada probably has everything a country can dream of: crude oil, natural gas, minerals, metals, lumber, seafood, wind, water, you name it. It is the second largest country in the entire globe after all, and its geology and scenery vary greatly from coast to coast. Canadians must feast their eyes on the beautiful scenery. Natural resources including timber, uranium, oil, and potash are mined there under some of the strictest labour and environmental regulations in the world. Via taxes and royalties, these extractive sectors give governments all around the nation enormous advantages, and they also provide jobs and a range of economic possibilities that sustain millions of families. Happy-go-lucky Canadians. One of Canada's most plentiful natural resources is oil. Its proved oil reserves are the third biggest in the planet after Saudi Arabia and Venezuela, with recoverable reserves believed to be around 168 billion barrels. As the fourth biggest oil exporter in the whole world, many analysts concur that petroleum exports are essential to the country's development. They must be on the gravy train now. Although there is an oil industry all throughout the nation, the provinces of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Newfoundland and Labrador account for nearly all the country's output. Another abundant natural resource in Canada is natural gas. Looks like resources have fallen onto Canada's lap. There is projected to be 1.373 trillion cubic feet of natural gas potential in the nation, which is the fifth biggest producer and the sixth biggest exporter in the world after Russia, USA, Qatar, Norway, and Australia. Approximately one-third of Canada's energy requirements are met by natural gas, which is still the country's primary energy source. Canada supplies around 10% of the gas consumed in the United States. Since liquefied natural gas, LNG, is one of the fossil fuels that burn cleanest, it is also highly sought after globally, with consumption of LNG expected to rise significantly over the course of the following decades. Natural gas got Canada a foothold in this world's market. The greatest worldwide producer and exporter of potash, which is potassium oxide equivalent, is Canada. With 1.1 billion tons, or almost one-third of the planet's total reserves of potash, it additionally possesses the greatest deposit in the world. It must be the luck of the draw. In 2021, around 70% of the world's potash output came from Belarus, Russia, and Canada. Potash production in Canada that year was an astonishing 22.5 million tons, up 129,000 tons from the previous year. Most potash mines are located in Saskatchewan, with a small number closing in New Brunswick. Fertilizer is the primary use for most potash produced. It may also be used for a wide range of other purposes, such as producing products that include potassium, such as ceramics, detergents, and medications for water. Similar to several other wealthy countries, Canada has experienced a decline in birth rates in recent years. Nonetheless, the COVID-19 pandemic has had an impact on the intentions of some individuals to start a family. It's like starting a family was above and beyond the call of duty. According to the data, there were over 372,000 live births in the country in 2019. Additionally, a woman's average age at childbirth in 2019 was 29.4, up from 23.2 in 1959. So, what is the reason behind this decreasing trend? It is exceedingly costly to have children, and given the current state of operations, young folks find it quite difficult to lead the kind of lifestyle necessary to support a family. This is leading to both postponed and lost fertility. This is a worrying trend for Canada, since declining birth rates might make population aging problems worse. Drastic times call for drastic measures, right? In Canada, 14.1% of the people were 65 years of age or older in 2010. By 2022, this percentage had risen to 19%. According to Statistics Canada, this trend is expected to continue and reach 22.5% by 2030. Once more, as a consequence of this, there are fewer Canadians of working age, 15 to 64, for every senior, 65 and older. In 1966, there were 7.7 Canadians of working age for every senior. By 2022, the ratio had dropped to 3.4. Forecasts indicate that these patterns will continue, with working age Canadians to elders falling to a ratio of 3.0 by 2027. The proportion of working age individuals to seniors is declining, which is having a negative impact on government revenue and spending, and has been a significant factor in the long-term drop in the labour force participation rate. Elders are a bit long in the tooth for working, right? These effects are already placing a burden on government finances. Over the course of time, this pattern is limiting the increase of government revenue. Actually, the ageing population and low fertility aren't the only challenges for the Canadian economy. Policies that are often categorized as social in nature are becoming more and more important to the health of the Canadian economy. In a globalized world of constant technological advancement, a nation's most valuable economic asset is its human capital. No two ways about it. If health and education policies are implemented successfully throughout childhood and adolescence, they will be far more effective. In Canada, they don't. The preventive service, which is particularly beneficial when provided early, is the weakest aspect of the health system, and it falls short of the majority of developed nations in terms of early childhood care and education. It must have vested interest in youth's health and education, right? Youth well-being needs to be given importance in our public policies, both social and economic. Prospering a children's character as a modern focal point, a declaration of the civic duty of Canada's adults towards its youth, is not too dramatic. Due to its robust and diverse economy, Canada is a prosperous country. The extraction of natural resources, which are widely used worldwide, including gold, zinc, copper, and nickel, is a major contributor to the country's economy. With several major oil corporations, Canada is a significant participant in the oil industry as well. Along with a sizable real estate market, the nation boasts a sizable financial sector with several banks and other financial organizations. Now, the query is, how can a nation end up falling behind its peers when it has such a wealth of resources and so much potential? The answer is straightforward. Economic and social policies that target the youth are particularly crucial. Otherwise, it would be doom and gloom.